Do you ever struggle to make your indie folk songs sound soft but full? Records like Bon Iver's self-titled album, 100 Acres by Carey and Bathing Beach by Novo Amor have this warm, rich, full sound that also somehow feels delicate and sweet. Now here's the crazy thing. When you listen to these records as much as I have, their sound starts to become less of a mystery because you start to notice patterns or like musical traits that all of these songs have in common. For these records, I found 5. So if you have an indie folk song that isn't sounding quite right, take it through this list. I promise it's going to be missing at least one, and then boom, there's your problem. But if you don't believe me yet, here's how I'm going to prove it to you. A few months ago, an artist named Matthew Cook reached out to me with this exact problem. He had written a beautiful indie folk song, but no matter what he did in the production, it just didn't have that warmth and sweetness. So let's turn back time to a few months ago when I took my first listen to the demo he sent me. Needed sun in your shadow. I'm hoping that I'll find a home. This demo is a great song with an awesome hook and heartfelt lyrics, and there were even some really cool ideas in the production, but when I took it through my indie folk checklist, it only had one of the 5 things in it. So Matt hired me to produce this song, and by the way, if you want me to produce your song, hit the top link in the description. More on that later though. So let me show you how we turned it into this. 'Cause your love is all I fell under, crawling. Number 1. Everything is percussion. I feel like most people approach percussion in indie folk music in entirely the wrong way. Have a listen to the first verse. To me, it almost feels like the shaker and the guitar are physically far apart, like in different worlds even. And as a result, there's no cohesiveness. We did a few things to fix this problem, starting with the guitar part itself. Matt's fingerpicking pattern was doing consistent 8th notes throughout the entire song, which I just wanted to switch up really slightly to just have it move a bit more. So I made a tiny change to the pattern. Getting this guitar part right was the first thing I did in the production. So yeah, let's record first off this guitar part. Then I layered up the guitar so that there were 2 finger-picked parts and 2 strummed parts. The result was a much warmer sounding main guitar section that also had a bit of a groove like built into it. As the song progresses, I want the intensity to build, so let me show you 2 of my favorite tricks to make your guitar section just sound a bit fuller and wider. This is a Nashville strum guitar, which I use in almost all my videos. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to strum literally like this, just I think 8th notes or 16th notes. Just like that, and it's going to add a ton of energy. So just to give you a sense of what kind of energy this brings, I'm gonna play them, then mute them. 'Cause your love is all I fell under, crawling, 'cause I needed some. I did my first session for this song off camera, so there's a few things you're gonna be hearing in here that you won't have seen yet. One that comes on later is this brush guitar. So I'm literally using a paintbrush on my Nashville string guitar. Again, we're just talking so much about tying in the guitars and the percussion. And if you just strum with a paintbrush, it just gives a much more percussive sound. So at this point we had the foundation of the song in, but we had a pretty fundamental problem still. Take a look at the waveform of Matt's demo. Do you notice anything? This is a song over 5 minutes long with pretty much no dynamic variation. Indie folk needs to sound spacious and sparse at times, but without dynamics here, there's no room to breathe. Step number 2 is how we're gonna add that. Number 2, sound design and atmosphere. So what makes this genre indie folk and not just folk. Well, the indie part of the equation refers to the inclusion of more contemporary and experimental sounds, which I feel like a lot of less experienced artists and producers are honestly a bit afraid to include. When you listen to any of these 3 albums, you'll notice pulsing synths, chopped up vocals, and reverse guitars and ambient layers that just make these songs a bit larger than life. And we don't even consider these albums to be experimental. It's just part of the sound. And I think it's part of the sound that's really overlooked. So here I just started with some simple synths and pads for atmosphere. I'm using Scarbo by Teletone Audio, which I just got, and I'm loving that. And then just a Labs patch, glass piano, nice little drone underneath everything. There's also these really cool Mellotron sounds that Matt sent in his demo that I'm almost definitely going to keep because I love them. These are coming into the chorus. I think that's super dope. And I also used some of Matt's vocals and some pianos to create some more unique sounds, and I carved out a bit of space for them at the beginning of the song. So the first thing, I recorded this little piano melody in here. Should get my headphones on. It's a little opening before everything comes in. I'm going to bounce this out as audio. I'm gonna call it piano grains. I'm gonna mess with this a little bit. So we'll keep the MIDI file there. So this one I'm gonna reverse. Interesting. Bit much. Okay, I kind of like that. I like that. Okay, I think I'm making another track. Bless me. I think the best way to do what I want to do here is actually play something else on the piano that's more kind of in line with what I'm looking for. I want this kind of like stuttering, like start and stop piano sort of thing. And what if I just go kind of like... All right, this is what we're starting from. Try the blur again. That might be cool. So let's shape it a bunch with an EQ. I think I want this kind of MIDI. Yeah, definitely want to use a good old lossy to give it a bit of a stuttering effect. So that's the packet loss. Yeah. I just want this to be mono, to be honest. So I'm just gonna be lazy. I'm just gonna put on like a mono plugin. Yeah. And I do want to compress it a bit actually, just to make it very consistent. Next, I added some drums, keeping in mind steps 1 and 2 on the checklist. I'm not trying to create a drum beat here. I'm just using traditional percussion as layers that blend with the guitars and create movement, like in More I See by Carey. I have a few real cymbals that I recorded in a few different ways. I'm just gonna record a bunch of ideas. I'll start with my hat, then I'll use my ride and maybe my crash as well. I have brushes, I have rods, and I have, damn it, and I have mallets. Okay, I want to try getting a lot of this kind of stuff, like a rattly sort of hi-hat. All right, got some stuff to work with now. I'm already loving this. Yeah, the texture is really nice. It's nice and light and airy. By the way, if you like the sound of these cymbals, then I have a free sample pack which includes mallet and brush hits. So they're really soft cymbal sounds that are specifically tailored to indie folk music. You can check that out in the description. I wanted to try out some toms in this song, but I think for now I'm just gonna stick to some snares. All I fell Number 3, Countermelody. So number 3 is the one thing that the song already had a ton of. Why is it so important though? The main vocal melodies in indie folk tend to be quite slow, simple, and understated, which means that if you get the rest of the arrangement wrong, it can actually sound a bit too simplistic. That's why all the best indie folk songs have really prominent countermelodies that play beautifully off of the lead vocal. This can be other vocals, other instruments like strings or pedal steel, or a combination of both. So even though the demo already had Countermelody with some of Matt's electric guitar parts, I wanted to make some changes to that to just fit the softer sound that we were leaning towards. I actually started with some super simple electric guitars of my own in the chorus. But I'm a string player, so I knew from the beginning that I wanted to put strings on this track. Here's how I approach that. So I've done a few string arrangements on my channel. Well, this is what it looks like. I have my violin and my viola out here, and the mic setup looks something like this typically. So I'll be sitting in the chair there, and then the mic will be facing downwards, pointed at me. But yeah, I'm a violinist, so most of my ideas start on the violin. But I have this viola, which actually, if you look a bit more closely at it, has cello strings on it, 1/16 size cello strings. So it has the range of a cello, but you know, it's a little weird sounding because it's actually a viola. Something I do on my string arrangements all the time is a technique called false harmonics. This is also really popular in like any Rob Moose string arrangement or all the string arrangements on 100 Acres. Just like on a guitar, every string on the violin has natural harmonics. But if you place one finger down and then hover your second finger a fifth up on the fingerboard, you can create a harmonic anywhere, and so you can actually play melodies as harmonics. So you'll see in the next few clips how I use this and how I layer this to just make a really ethereal sounding string sound.
Somehow I'll leave this all behind, and somehow I'll leave this all behind. Somehow you'll leave my broken mind, 'cause your love is leave my broken mind, 'cause your love is all. Somehow I'll leave this all, leave my broken mind, 'cause your love is your love is all I felt. And I'll find a home in this sorrow. And I'll find a home in this sorrow. And I'll find a home in this sorrow.
I like this, like I said, just going for a really just distinct melody that punches through here. I'm just having a thought, which was not the plan going into this, but I have an idea.
'Cause your love
I'm so proud of how this ambient section turned out, and I think it really shaped the overall like sonic journey of the song. I'll show you how the final thing turned out at the end of the video. So at this point, things were really coming along, and it was all about finishing touches to just make the song as good as it could possibly be. Matt and I hopped on a couple revisions calls, and I had Matt retrack the vocals with just a bit of a softer performance, again, to fit the rest of the instrumentation a bit better. Number 4, Twang. All the best indie folk songs are full of very intentional and impactful imperfections. There's a few definitions of the word twang. In popular culture, we tend to associate twang with like banjos and brisket. And while that can be what I mean here, the actual definition of twang is a sound that either rings out or has a sort of nasal quality. Sorry, Texans. So banjo and pedal steel are great examples. But twang can also be a guitar string that intentionally rings out, like in Anchor by Novo Amor. On this track though, it was a no-brainer for me that real pedal steel would elevate things. It would add some twang through pitch bending, and it also just blends really nicely with strings, I find. I don't play pedal steel though, so I called in one of my secret weapons.
Hey everyone, my name is Clayton White, and I'm a multi-instrumentalist based in the Greater Toronto area. I play piano along with all keys instruments, pedal steel guitar, and more. Alright, so I'm all set up, ready to go. I've laid out the form of the song, and I'm ready to start running some takes. I'll quickly show you my setup for recording pedal steel. The pedal steel goes into my tuner, which goes straight into an EQ, and I just roll off some high frequencies that are too harsh. After the EQ, there's a chorus pedal, adding just a little amount of slow chorus to help thicken the sound. After my volume pedal, the signal goes straight to my amp and into my SSL preamp and interface. When I work on a song, I love offering a fresh perspective with my playing, making sure everything I play serves the song and complements everything else going on in the production. I improvise quite a lot when I record and come up with parts, and I've learned to really lean into my musical instincts over the years, ensuring that the artists and producers I work with leave with everything they needed and more to bring their song to the next level.
Now we're on to the final missing piece to take it over the finish line. Number 5, a damn good mix and master. I know this might feel like a bit of a cop-out, but hear me out. I'm a professional music producer who has produced hundreds of songs in many different genres, and I can very safely say that there is nothing that benefits more from the mixing stage than this genre. Trust me, you'll hear it in the before and afters. So I had to bring in the big guns. I'll let them show you what they did.
Hello there. My name is Charles and I'm a mix engineer based in Kent in the UK. I work primarily with pop, indie and alternative artists. I've got the mix session for Fading to the Bone by Matthew Cook right behind me, so why don't we have a look? One of the things I noticed early on was that there was a bit of masking in the mid-range between the guitars, the pianos and the strings here. So during the mix prep stage, I used this plugin quite a bit. This is kind of a automatic EQ tone shaping plugin. It's not doing anything dramatic, just gently cleaning things up and giving a bit more clarity right from the very start, so I get the best starting point possible. The biggest area I worked on was the vocals. I wanted them to feel like they were floating in the mix, kind of whispery and soft in some places, and then when it gets louder, I didn't want it to be like in front, like a singer-songwriter type song. I wanted them to be back in the track, but still be intelligible. So on the main vocal, I cleared up a bunch of this low stuff and focused it more in this upper part here. That's where you get that presence and intelligibility, but still with the aim of not sitting it too far forward.
Our love dissolved, we were younger. Our love dissolved, we were younger. 'Cause your love is all I fell under. 'Cause your love is all I fell under.
Charles sent back a mind-blowing first mix on pretty much the first try, like he always does, so all that was left was to send it to Phil Marsden for mastering.
Mastering this track was a real pleasure, and with Lucas and Charles doing such a great job on the production and mix, as they always do, my job was pretty easy. There were 3 main focal points for me on this track. The first was the low end. It was sitting nicely in terms of balance, but I instantly felt that a bit more sort of thump and chestiness from the subs would really drive this song home, especially in the choruses. iZotope's Impact plugin was perfect for just emphasising the transients down there. The next thing I wanted to focus on was the mid-range around the vocals. It felt like there was a bit of sort of untapped energy there, and I wanted to excite that area and draw out all of the emotion and the character in the vocals as much as I could. Some EQ in the lower mids helped with that, as well as a small dose of iZotope's Clarity module. This really feels like it pulls apart the mid-range and makes everything feel a little bit more three-dimensional. Level-wise, the track was sitting really nicely, so I just wanted to keep any gain reduction as transparent as possible. Newfangled Elevate is a limiter that's always great on genres like this. It was really just about catching peaks and making sure I'm not making anything sound choked or too compressed at this point.
And then we had a final song. I'll play you a few bits of it in a second, but first, if you want me to produce your song like you just saw, then hit the top link in the description. That'll take you to my website where you can hear some of my work and fill out a form to get in touch. I'm also dropping links for Clayton, Charles, and Phil in the description. They are absurdly good at what they do and such a joy to work with, so please check them out as well. Lastly, if you want to listen to the full song uninterrupted, then go support Matt and check out Fading by Matthew Cook on all streaming services. I'm leaving the Spotify link in the description. All right, here's the final song.
Our love dissolved, we were younger. Your eyes lifted all I was under. And somehow I'll leave this all behind. And somehow you'll leave my broken mind. 'Cause your love